Hallelujah. Praise God. It's the last day of the month. It's last day of the month, the 31st of Tuesday, 2021. Absolute populism on Castbox. Also Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. Working hard day in, day out. Just want to say thank you to everyone supporting the show. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everyone coming through supporting the show time and time again. It means a hell of a lot because I want to incline, not decline. I want to inspire, not expire. I want to be prosperous when prosperity matters. I want to try and support the Dominion. I want to support the democracy. I want more people to come on board. People with cognitive skills, constructive criticism, people that want to bring something to the table. Maybe I can guide them. They need help or support. Especially parent alienation. Parent alienation is something close to heart that I want to support. Absolutely. There's probably a lot of alienated fathers and mothers out there that want to cry for help but don't know where to turn. Don't know to ask for help. It took me a long while to get the help I needed, but then I was left on my own. I turned up using my own devices, my human mechanism, using my cognitive skills to get what I needed to get throughout the judiciary, family judiciary. I tell you what, it's not easy. You get given, go to a mediator, get a C1 form, C100 I think is C100 form. Go fill out yourself. Then you have to apply for help with court fees, EX160. You have to fill it out yourself, but you have to fill it out with such illiterate ways that the legislators in the court will understand. So if anyone needs any help, please feel free to send me a message on social media, even on Castbox, or my email, which is proclamation@yahoo.com. So it is as it is on the radio, is as it is on Facebook, is as it is on Twitter, is as it is on YouTube as well. So, I'm getting my name out there, trying to give people the support they might need throughout court. It's up to you if you want to use my cognitive skills, my academics, which I've been doing my own studying, my own research about using solicitor fees, save myself X amount of money. So if you need help in hand, point in the right direction, please feel free to give me a message. I'm here to help support the Dominion. Absolutely. You send me a message and I'm there. No problem whatsoever. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. It's Proclamation news and Gatherence, ladies and gents. I'm coming back with my Christianity Authoritarian ways. Like I say, I've always been throughout the church most of my life. We all got that life of purgatory. We all, I'm not going to say, there probably is some people that have been perfect throughout life, never had a drink, never done silly things as we've grown up as teenagers. It took some of us longer than others to grow up, absolutely. I can happily say I haven't had a drink in many years, many days, many months, many minutes, many seconds, many hours. A long time ago. I walk past the drink now and I won't even pick it up. Don't like the smell of it. Do not like the smell of alcohol. One of the worst things. I always say make that change for the better of your well-being. Like I said, you want to be prosperous. You want to be prosperous when prosperity matters. You need ambitions in life. Change your ambitions. You're not happy with yourself at the moment, with your job. Maybe your job's turning you drink. Maybe your relationship's turning you drink. You need to change your scenario. Get out of that relationship. Get out of that job. What is it that's making you turn to drink? That's what you need to work out yourself. It's why you're drinking. You're killing your liver and kidneys. Comfort eating as well. A lot of people comfort eat when they're like that. Some people think they're happy in their relationship so they can comfort eat. That's not. You're still killing yourself. You're still killing yourself. Don't comfort eat. You've got to learn to love yourself before you can love someone else. And if you comfort eating, that's not loving yourself. Definitely not. Over comfortable in your relationship where you don't really care about your partner. Because if you cared about him, you look after yourself. Because you'd be around for longer. I hate when people say, oh yeah, I'm in a happy relationship, so I'm going to eat more. No. No, that's not a good answer, because at the end of the day, the more you overindulge in food, the more you are to put stress on your kidney, your liver. There you go. Anyway, I'm not being horrible, but I'm a nutrition expert, so I'm trying to give out advice and guidance. PSS alarms. Very ethical and pragmatic works carried out. All works covered, including central station module provided. Please get a pen and paper or mobile phone ready for this number. All work done according to insurance requirements. This is a friend of mine's company. He's carried out works in Harry Kane Stepmom's house in Hertfordshire, Potts Bar. He's carried out etiquette works in Essex, such as Cad's Bar Restaurant and many more big businesses. Installation and maintenance of intruder alarms, fire alarms, CCTV. All work guaranteed and certified to SSARB standard 24-hour call-out service. Can provide CCTV for pubs, clubs, restaurants with a business setup. Secure your business. Mention Professor Johnson for an extra discount. Secure your home, secure your business. Your priorities and safety in your business are paramount. So think safety, think first. Secure your equity. Call this number +44 7908 216 142 +44, which is it's an English code. It's 07908 07908 216 142 07908 216 142. Ask to speak to Sarah Khan. You're gonna make change overindulging in food, overindulging in alcohol. Shouldn't be drinking. Not even one glass of alcohol is not good for you. Alcohol is poison. RelaxUK.com. Relax UK Limited, travel and wellness products since 1997. UK relaxation shops and various range of products from relaxation, travel, well-being, bath feedback, sleeping, and natural products. Before we move on, I'm going to give you some of the commandments, 10 commandments, before I give you my commandments of the road users guideline. 10 commandments: you shall have no other gods before me. You shall make into thee any graven image. You shall not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honour your father and your mother. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbour. You shall not covet. Padusha Katum Bakam is Hindu, for the world is one big family. Absolutely. It doesn't matter what culture, what spiritual belief you have. We all have the same God. We all share the same brother and sister. We're just practicing different churches because that's our, that was our upbringing. That is our upbringing. That's how he's bred by our family members. Just for our ancestors growing up. That was their tribe, so we stick to it. Not out of hatred, just out of culture. That's all. You don't need to be fascist, no need to be racist, no need for an xenophobia. If you can bring success to the table, regardless if you can speak English or if I can speak German, I'm working in Germany and I'm doing a good job. I'm taking my cognitive skills and using it. It's like we have foreign citizens in England, like Indians, they're working on the telephone. But they're interpreters for the Indian people. They can't speak great English, but they're interpreters for the Indian people. We can't sit there and discriminate them. Absolutely not. Anyway, before we enter the roads, not just in the UK, all over the world, shouldn't enter the vehicle under the influence of alcoholism or narcotics. Don't enter the vehicle if you've got no tax, MOT or insurance. Make sure the MOT is updated. And a driving licence, funny enough. It sounds ironic, but a lot of stupid idiots do drive a car without a licence. Even adults lost their licence going and getting a car because that's what they're used to doing. I lost my licence, but I'm used to getting a car anyway, so I use it. But you've had your licence taken off it because you're acting inappropriate, so you don't get in a car, do you? There you go. Do not drive your vehicle while eating, smoking, or drinking. Make sure you and passengers have seatbelts adjacent to the car seat, and babies have adapters adjacent to the car seat as well. Checking your PSI limits in your tyres, making sure your tyres are not bowled, checking engine oil, water coolant tank, making sure they're topped up to maximum level. Check for further police instructions, road workers, safety signs, further police instructions. Check for centre mirror and wing mirror before turning into a safe, sufficient directional choice. Could be a motorcyclist overtaking. You need to start using your brain a little bit on the road. I'm never going to make a difference to the instance, but I'm going to try and give people some acknowledgement what they need to do themselves. Northeast, well, not northeast, but northeast from where I am. It's still southeast, Norwich. A11, obstruction on road, traffic coping well, reports of obstruction on the road on A11 northbound at B1077 Queens Road. Bestthorpe interchange traffic is coping well on the 31st of August. Southeast, nearly as low southeast as you can go. In Maidstone, Kent, A249, lane closed. Accident involving queuing traffic. Travel time is traffic for around 2 miles due to accident. 3 cars involved on A249 southbound before M20, Junction 7, Maidstone, Detlin Hill. Cameras show lanes 1 of 2 of 3 are closed just before the roundabout. Traffic passing in lane 3. That happened at 5 to 8 this morning. That could have been sounds like a tragic accident. So it's on a motorway. Not a motorway, but a main road. Sounds like a big tragic. Anyway, Greater London, Watford, A1, lane closed, accident, slow traffic on roundabout. 1 lane and slow traffic due to accident A1 to junction 1, M25, junction 23, South Mims on the roundabout. Lane 4 of 4 is closed on the western side of the roundabout. Reported at 38 minutes past 8 a.m. East London, Woolwich Ferry, 1 ferry running over. 1 ferry running due to a technical issue on Woolwich Ferry in East London. 1 boat of 2 is running. Reported at 10 to 6 a.m. Just above Brighton, A272, queuing traffic construction area. Queuing traffic on A272 Station Road both ways before Thorndon. In the construction area, temporary traffic lights near St Peter's Primary School, 20 to 7 a.m. We're going to have one more segment. We're going to have a short break and I will be back. I love you guys. I really appreciate everyone tuning in to my Proclamation News and Gatherence, Castbox, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're listening. I appreciate it. We are actually coming in with great listeners, preserved and observed, make you part of the aristocracy social elite. Afghanistan, we must face new reality and exercise moderating influence on Taliban, Raib said. The UK needs to face new reality in Afghanistan and work with other nations' exercise and moderating influence on Taliban, the Foreign Secretary has said. Dominic Raib said the UK would hold the Taliban to its pledge of safe passage for those who want to leave. He said the UK has evacuated more than 17,000 people from Afghanistan, including 5,000 UK nationals. The number of UK nationals left behind was in the low hundreds, he added. Mr. Raib also robustly defended his position handling the crisis. He said no department has performed better than the Foreign Office, and anyone trying to suggest otherwise either lacked credibility or had been peripheral to events and should be focused on the job in hand. The Foreign Secretary said the next challenge was to face Afghanistan's new reality and come up with a plan that reflects it. He said the UK needed to get wider buy-in from China. Russia and countries in Central Asia to exercise the maximum moderating influence on the Taliban and safeguard gains made over 2 decades, such as better access to the education and lower maternal mortality rates. Mr. Reeve said he did not recognise claims that the UK asked for a gate at Kabul airport to be left open to aid its evacuation before Thursday's suicide bombing at the airport. We did everything we could once we were alerted to the threat, before the explosion took place, to mitigate the risk, he said, including warning people to stay away, asking crowds to leave, and moving to the UK's civilian team from the Barron Hotel to the airport. None of that would have required a necessitated the gate, Abbey Gate, to be left open. UK forces withdrew from Afghanistan on Monday, ending their 20-year presence and leaving the Taliban in control. Troops also left over the weekend. In a draft resolution adopted on Monday evening, the UN Security Council urged the Taliban to allow people to leave the country. It's also urged the Taliban not to allow Afghanistan to become a base for terrorism. And it called on all parties to allow full, safe, unhindered access for all the UN and charities to deliver humanitarian aid. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the international community would push as one voice for safe passage of Afghanistans who want to leave. The resolution drafted by the UK and France was passed by 13 votes in favour of 2 abstentions from China and Russia. Mr. Johnson said it makes it clear that the international community stands with Afghans. There can be no return to a depression of terror. We push as one voice for the safe passage, humanitarian access and respect for human rights, he wrote on Twitter. The Taliban have promised those with authorisation will be able to leave the country, but Dame Barbara Woodward, the UK ambassador to the UN, said the militants would be judged on the basis of their actions on the ground, not their words. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken also pledged to hold the Taliban to their commitment for free passage. Labour's Shadow Foreign Secretary Lisa Nandy welcomed the resolution, but said it needed to go further. The new reality in Afghanistan demands the widest coordinated international approach to the Taliban. The resolution leaves fundamental and practical questions unanswered that now need to be urgently addressed. What next for the international community? The overt military presence of the Western powers in Afghanistan may be over, but as of Monday night, vote at UN showed their interest in the country remained. The difference now is they must seek to influence the Taliban from outside, and that raise tough questions. How do they engage a new government? How do they ensure foreign nationals and Afghanistan can indeed get safe passage out? And how do they protect the free flow of aid to avoid a humanitarian crisis? The West has some carrots to offer the Taliban: the lifting of sanctions, the promise of diplomatic recognition, but all that seems some way off, as does an unfilled international response given the decision by China and Russia to abstain at the UN. Nonetheless, diplomats say all sides have a shared interest in ensuring the stability and security of Afghanistan. More than 15,000 people have been evacuated by the UK in Afghanistan since 14th of August. But it's feared about 800 to 1,100 eligible Afghans, including those worked for the UK government, and 100 to 150 British people unable to get evacuation flights. The final flight for the US troops left the capital, Kabul, shortly before midnight local time, meeting President Biden's commitment to withdraw by 31st August. Afghan journalist Bilal Sawi, who fled the country with his young family and just one change of clothes, said ordinary people in the country faced a very uncertain future. He told BBC Breakfast that a crisis had gripped the country, with thousands of people queuing outside banks in Kabul. He said that if people managed to get into the bank, They could only withdraw $200, £145 a week, which was enough to buy food, cooking supplies, and other items. Mr. Sarway has also warned there's a risk of famine as Afghanistan, which he said relied heavily on imported foods like rice and wheat, remains shut from other countries. Farmers also lost everything when the fighting broke 8 or 9 months ago, at the peak of the harvest season. Despite the withdrawal of the Western troops, the head of the RAF has indicated British forces would be prepared to launch airstrikes to the target Islamic State terrorists in Afghanistan. Air Chief Marshal Sir Mike Wigston has told the Daily Telegraph, ultimately, that this is what boils down to is that we've got to be able to play a global role in a global connotation to defeat the Daesh. Whether it's strike or whether it's moving troops or equipment into a particular country at scale and at speed. If there's an opportunity for us to continue, I am in no doubt that we will be ready to. That will be anywhere where violent extremism raises its head and is a direct or indirect threat to UK or our allies, he added. Afghanistan is probably one of the most inaccessible parts of the world, and we're able to operate there. The Afghan offshoot of the Islamic State, known as the ISK, has claimed responsible for an attack outside Kabul airport on Thursday, which killed more than 100 civilians and 13 US troops. On Sunday, the US launched a drone strike in Kabul, which is said was targeting a suspected bomber associated with ISK. The strike killed 10 members of one family, including 6 children. Pentagon said investigating reports of civilian deaths. Meanwhile, the government has pledged $2.7 million extra funding for the Operation Courage, the Veterans Mental Health and Wellbeing Service, to help those who have served in countries including Afghanistan. Current and former members of the armed forces, including some Tory MPs, have spoken about the huge toll Taliban takeover and the UK withdrawal from Afghanistan have had on veterans. They're talking. It's just the RAF coming back in. Nick Ferrari's on, so we're going to Nick Ferrari quickly. I'll have a cup of Charlie, have a short break, and come back. That's the idea, anyway. That was the idea, believe it or not. Not sure what happened there. Let's try it again. Oh, it's James O'Brien. It was James O'Brien. No, it's not. No, it's not James O'Brien. And no. Bear with me, like, just trying to get this. I don't think.
Okay, Bucky, it's a T4 series.
Roger that, Jack. Downloading the manual. Oh, that's a big boy file. Need to delete some wedding photos to manage that.
You need to what?
Clear tons of space with Clean My Mac X.
Signed involved freeing 5,000 Taliban prisoners at a time when the number of American troops on the ground in Afghanistan was a fraction of that. Actually freeing 5,000 prisoners. I guess by that point perhaps we've become so saturated with the depravity of that particular regime that we'd stopped clocking the latest despicable things or strange or bad or potentially dangerous things that they'd done. That said, coming out of Afghanistan remains, I think, quite popular in America, albeit that Joe Biden has had an absolute shocker, tactically speaking, left with an appalling hand of cards. It's fair to say it's impossible to imagine him, however bad the hand of cards he was left with might have been, it's impossible to have imagined him playing it any worse. But what have we learned? What have we learned? Well, I think something quite significant might have happened. And this is where I'd like you to begin your contributions to the programme today. It's just a few comments. Collectively, creating this idea, one former diplomat on Sky News put it particularly well, about the end of that era of liberal interventionism. So there's two things going on in my mind this morning. The first is the absolute madness. And the Living Daylights, thank you. Yes, the Living Daylights, the James Bond film. See the cultural reference points that should have prepared us for what has happened in Afghanistan over the last 2 weeks. They're almost too numerous to count. But the two things going on in my mind are the absolute madness of being there in the first place. How many people, honestly, hand on heart, can remember the full rationale? Post-September the 11th, Osama bin Laden was supposed to be holed up in the Hindu Kush. Remember the line about a 6'5" Arab on dialysis? Can't be that hard to find. It's quite a popular line at the time. Didn't find him until essentially after. And he wasn't in Afghanistan when they did. So that was the original rationale for doing it. Different, I think, to the arguments for going into Iraq. I mean, you could see that the architects of the September 11th terror attacks deserve to be chased into the fieriest pits of hell. But that was the rationale for it. And yet, as we now withdraw, humiliated and defeated from that theatre, he's a distant memory. And the Taliban that is now assuming control were only ever a shelterer of Osama bin Laden, as opposed, I think, to a part of his empire, if you like. So the madness of the entire engagement is almost too epic to contemplate. Inevitably, I'm going to invite you to contemplate it. But the other thing I want to do is this, and I don't know quite how to phrase this, because you don't want to be the... Well, first of all, you're conscious of the temptation to shoot the messenger when the news is ugly or the news is bad, but also, you know, even those of us who don't spend our lives terrified and cowed by the thought of footballers taking a knee or National Trust Properties publishing history of National Trust Properties, even those of us who are much more secure in our sort of emotional health and indeed in our relationship with geography and history and even patriotism, you kind of don't want to be, you don't want your country to be on the downslide. I know that's odd, given that a lot of the upslide for the UK hinged upon empire and colonialism, all those things we've been talking about all year. And it seems odd then to say, I don't want to be on the downslide, when the downslide involves essentially a surrendering of all those historical injustices. But we are, aren't we? The idea now, what if, and I don't know why it is, it might be inevitable, it might just be numbers, it might not be an opinion, it might just be counting the rise of China, the incredible infiltration, if you like, of Russia into so many corners of geopolitics, and of course the financial decline of the UK, and to a slightly lesser extent of America, hinged upon the fact that we don't essentially root around the world looting and helping ourselves to resources. We are simply not going to be the power that people my age grew up still feeling that we were. I'm 50 in January, for the record. That's odd, right? And that, for me, translates into a question about perhaps the moral high ground is the phrase I'm looking for, perhaps the world's police force. And I think there's a bit of humble pie about to be served up as well, because plenty of people have been arguing for some time that it was either ridiculous or wrong for us to see ourselves as having the right to intervene in other countries, as having some sort of God-given right to march into foreign lands and tell the people living there what to do and how to behave themselves, to import or export democracy, if you like, or liberalism. And a lot of people have had a problem with that for quite a long time. The suggestion that the fall of the Berlin Wall marked a period of history where Western powers, led by America, with, I think, although I'm just as guilty of being a bit rose-tinted on this as the next man is, with the UK in the passenger seat, with the UK in the front passenger seat, not ruling the world, but believing in a right to reframe other countries, using military power. Do you get it yet? As I say these words out loud, is it sounding as weird to you as it does to me? That we grew up, you and I, in a world where our country felt qualified if not compelled, to march into countries on the other side of the world and overthrow regimes. Always, of course, in bed with America, and thanks to Harold Wilson's particular political acumen, not on the most humiliating defeat of them all, the Vietnam War, which Wilson, I think, very courageously, looking back now, kept us out of. But this idea that, and this is tough for me, I want to make it personal because I'm going to ask you to be a bit personal. I quite liked thinking that we occupied some sort of moral high ground. I quite liked that feeling. It may even have involved a sort of low-level racism, perhaps, or a sort of post-imperial exceptionalism. I quite liked the idea that my country was teaching the world how to be free, how to be liberal, how to be equal, how to be fair. I wonder this morning whether it ever really was. 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. What are we learning? Is the lesson that a significant period of 20th and 21st century history is over? The United Kingdom and the United States will not, perhaps ever again, be in a position to tell foreign regimes to sling their hook, to march into countries that some of the soldiers and some of the journalists covering the stories would, 6 months ago, have struggled even to spell. We march into countries because we believe we have some peculiar brand of politics and liberty that qualifies us to impose or inflict or introduce it to people who never really asked for our help in the first place. You can choose whatever verb you please: impose, inflict, introduce. I would like to speak to some soldiers today. I don't know whether you ever wrestle with these issues. I don't imagine you can afford to when you're in the actual theatre of war. But if we are to learn anything from this, is it a humiliation? I mean, we've lost the war, really, haven't we? We went to Afghanistan to crush the Taliban, impose the government, introduce, defend a supposedly democratically elected government, and they fled. The most chilling thing for me on a personal level was seeing the newsreader with armed Taliban soldiers behind him on television, on live television. It would literally be like, admittedly, this is the radio, but there were still cameras in there. It would be like Keith saying, "Oh, James, there's just someone coming into the studio in a minute, try and stay calm." And then two fellas walk in, carrying Kalashnikovs or AK-47s and grenades, turns around their belt and go, "Keep talking, O'Brien." I go, "All right, you are." Go, "Okay." And I'm talking to you live on the radio with two heavily armed people behind me. I nearly said goons. I nearly said terror. I don't know. I have as much right to be in Afghanistan as anybody else has, and probably more right than we ever did. So that's the question. What are we learning? What is the major lesson for you, whatever your perspective may be, whether you are Afghani yourself, Afghan, I beg your pardon, Afghani is the currency, I think, whether you're Afghan yourself, whether you've got a military connection with the country, or whether, like me, you just watch it with an ever-growing sense of wonder and confusion. What is the lesson? 0345 6060 973. And if you want to start by picking over the bones of my suggestion is, that's it. Game over. But the era of America with the United Kingdom right up there, front and centre, policing the world, is over. I don't know why. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it's going to be pretty hard to refute. Discuss. The number you need, as ever, is 0345 6060 973. You can tweet me at Mr. James OB. You can text 84850. But that, I think, is the question that we'll start with. Not a question I've asked if I've been here every day for the last 2 weeks, but a question that's been forming in my mind from not having to have a strong opinion about everything every morning. This is, I think, a really significant moment. For as long as I can remember, conversations we have about international relations, about geopolitics, about movements, have all hinged upon, or have all contained a presumption that we are the good guys and that we will go where we are needed. Do you think that's over? 0345 6060 973 is the number you need. Hit the numbers now. We'll talk after this.
LBC.
How are you feeling today? Good? It might seem that way on the outside, but if you're not feeling okay, well, that's okay. And if you're feeling anxious, depressed, worried, or have a low mood, you're not alone. VitaMinds is your local NHS talking therapy service, and it's free. Here for when life feels too much, to understand your concerns, and to offer help to get you back on track. Available to residents within the Epping Forest, Harlow and Uttleford region. No need to see your GP. Simply refer yourself in minutes online at vitahealthgroup.co.uk. That's vitahealthgroup.co.uk. Making people better. When you're searching for a savings account, finding the right place for you is important. The online savings account from Marcus by Goldman Sachs gets you a high interest rate over savings. And you can start yours from just £1, because knowing your money is in a good place puts you in a good place. Open your account at marcus.co.uk. Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
On with the tour. This is finance.
What's that noise? It sounds like
Efficiency. It's wonderful, isn't it?
I thought I heard a tropical waterfall when we went past HR.
That's how productivity sounds now.
I don't understand.
The Access Group. Their solutions have given us better ways to manage and run our systems, freeing everyone up to focus on more meaningful work and get more done.
That all sounds.
It does, doesn't it?
Visit theaccessgroup.com/working wonders and find out how great it feels when software works the way you want to work. The Access Group, software solutions, working wonders.
You want to remember just what it's like to enjoy the outdoors while riding a bike. Adventure is calling, so come on in store. From helmets to locks, it's must-haves galore. If you bring us your ride, we'll check it for free. Our bicycle experts are smart as can be. Then, on your car, they'll fit you a rack, so all of the family can put theirs on the back. You want to be ready for every occasion. You want Halfords, the home of staycations.
Hey, Harry. Hello, mate. Any tips for the big game?
It's a tough one to call. Your best bet is to ask Michael Owen. Here, Michael. Hello, Gaffer. You got it?
So about that, gents. Going to move on with the shows. Proclamation and Gatherence back. So I'll just have a quick break for a quick sip of tea, have a drink out for the rest of the show. We've only got another 20 odd minutes left. Thank you very much. What everyone's been waiting for is the cuts in the universal credit. It's supposed to be taking it back, but everyone's having an uproar, which is quite fair enough. We've got a rate of inflation. You've got to try and survive still got to pay bills, still got to eat, still got to live, and we still got COVID rising. So we've got to do what's best for our health, haven't we? We need to try and argue this and get this £20 top-up kept. Universal Credit devolved government's joint calls to keep the £20 top-up. Devolved governments in Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland have called on the government to rethink plans to end universal credit uplift. You think they'd be able to, stop them from taking that, surely? I mean, they know it's helping people, so why would they take it back off people? Come on, realistically, they can chuck X amount of money in Beijing and whatever other countries. Beijing is like one of the richest places in the world. China is a massive country. They can't support their own. And why are we supporting China? We're pumping like 60, I think it's about 60 million a year into Beijing, yet we can't keep £20 a week on universal credit in our own country. How ludicrous is that? Chancellor Rishi Sunak plans to stop the extra £20 a week payment in October, saying it's only temporary measures to help people through the pandemic. But our growling calls for it to be extended or made permanent. Ministers from Holyrood, Cardiff and Stormont have raised concerns about the impact the cut will have on poverty. They wrote a joint letter to the Work and Pension Secretary, Theresa Coffey, describing the change as the biggest overnight reduction to a basic rate of social security since the modern welfare state began more than 70 years ago. Prime Minister Boris Johnson last week, he wanted the focus to be on better paid jobs rather than welfare. He was speaking after two Tory MPs joined calls for the uplift to be made permanent. I mean, people that try and do good in life, do good in society, deserve it. But then you've got people that are burning their can at both ends that don't deserve the extra pay rise. Not being out of order. People that are going to go out and just waste their money willy-nilly when you've got other people trying to actually pay their bills and live a normal life, live a life of purity, so to speak, zero alcoholism, zero narcotics. Them sort of people that are financially struggling need your support. They're probably still working every day. I do radio. I study every day. I'm doing radio every day. I'm a good citizen, community standard. I don't get involved in anyone's business. I keep my circle small. me and my family, and that is it. That is it. The letter is signed by Scotland's Social Justice Secretary, Shona Robinson. The Welsh Social Justice Minister, Jane Hutt, and Northern Ireland Communities Minister, Deirdre Hargey. They said they were writing to express the grave concern of all these devolved administrations. The trio added that the people would lose more than 1,000 a year at a time when they need financial support the most, adding that the impact would be heightened by the premature end of the furlough scheme, along with energy prices rising for millions of people from October. We are concerned about the potential impact that reducing universal credit will have on child poverty levels, and on financial health and well-being of people. We urge the UK government to reverse the decision without delay in order to avoid causing further anxiety. Universal credit, which is claimed to be more than 5.5 million households in the UK, was introduced to replace 6 benefits and merge them into one benefit payment for the working age people. £20 top-up was extended by 6 months in March, but MPs across the political spectrum, along with the charities and campaigners, have called it for continued beyond the autumn. Last month, the chairs of the 4 welfare committees from the UK, 4 parliaments, also wrote a letter calling for a top-up to be permanent. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation, a charity that researches poverty, has warned that millions of households will face an income loss equivalent to £1,040 a year, including the uplift would cost around £6 billion a year. Government says spending had to be brought under control with unprecedented emergency interventions during the pandemic. The Department for Work and Pensions spokeswoman said temporary uplift was designed to help claimants through the toughest stages of the pandemic, and it has done so. She added, "It is right that we now focus on a plan for jobs, helping claimants to increase their earnings by boosting their skills and getting into work, progressing in work and increasing their hours." The 3 rule changes for motorists come into force this month. COVID-19 has changed rules in many ways to make things easier through difficult times, especially for workers who need cars. Motorists have had some leniency while driving licence, but they have enjoyed lower fuel prices throughout their lockdown period. However, as things are going back to normal from the effects of COVID, drivers should be prepared for new road changes that will be in force in the coming month. There will be 3 rule changes that will be in effect this month. The rule change will see alterations to driving licence laws, the rules around number plates and the type of fuel available at petrol stations. Here are new changes for drivers need to know. Last year, driving licence due to expire between the 1st of February and 31st December 2020 were extended by DVLA for 11 months to make it easier for drivers in the pandemic. Licences that were due to expire in October 2020 were valid until September 21, which means they're no longer valid from tomorrow. Drivers who fail to renew their licence could be issued a £1,000 fine and urged to update them. However, drivers can continue if they receive confirmation their application is being processed, says the DVLA. Number plate changes. The new 71 design number plate launched on the brand new vehicles in September, as well as all new designs. New technical standards for numbers plates are being introduced. The old BS AU 145D standard, which has been used since 2001, will be replaced by the new BS AU 15E plates. The new standard makes the new plates more durable, and the new rules. Number plates can only feature solid black lettering, which makes it easier for ANPR cameras to read them. This means 2-tone digits will not be allowed on new UK number plates from 2021. However, if existing plates meet the requirements of the old standards, the BSAU 154D, they remain legal and do not need to be changed. The number plates will also include supplier's business address and postcode. E10 fuel changes have now installed petrol stations across UK and drivers' older vehicles. It needs to be aware the new petrol is made up 10% of the bioethanol instead of 5%. It is estimated that cleaner fuel could reduce CO2 emissions by 750,000 tonnes per year, the equivalent of taking 350,000 cars off the road in one go. But cars built in 2002 are advised to use new petrol, which could damage key parts. So this means the 2-ton digits will not be allowed on UK number plates from 2021. 2-ton digits. According to classic car expert Haggerty tests, the Department of Transport shows that if new fuel could corrode carburetors and damage fuel lines and older models, the classic car owners will need to use the existing E5 fuel, which is being moved to the super unleaded protection grade. This will see fuel costs rise, with the AA predicting owners pay £15 more a top-up 55-litre tank. Many EU nations, including France, Germany and Finland, have already introduced E10 fuel. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you ever so much for coming through and supporting the show at Proclamation News and Gatherence. Go and enjoy the rest of the last day of the month. P&G is the prodigious, the prominent professor at Proclamation News and Gatherence. Take care, God bless, one love, and speak soon. See you again later, guys. Take it easy. One love. Take care. God bless.